Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. Today we're joined by Colin Bird, Executive Chairman of Bezant Resources. Welcome back, Colin.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks, Phil.
No problem. Obviously, we've just seen the company announce that IDM International Limited, to which Bezant sold its interest in the Mankayan Copper Gold Project in the Philippines, has provided a shareholder update and launched a new corporate website. Bezant currently owns approximately 22.96% of IDM's share capital. You expressed satisfaction with IDM's progress on the Mankayan project, highlighting its importance as a Tier 1 asset amidst the global copper shortfall. The IDM update includes the renewal of the Mankayan mining license, completion of pre-feasibility drilling, and advancements in obtaining a life-of-mine social license. The Mankayan project, with substantial drilling data and JORC-compliant resources, is crucial for future copper supply. Sounds promising, Colin.
Yeah, it is very promising, very, very promising. And, you know, when you start seeing grades of nearly 800 million ton, and you've got 2.8 million ton of copper, 9.7 million ounces of gold, and 21 million ounces of silver, then that's a significant resource and, quite frankly, can challenge most porphyries in the world. What it doesn't say in there is that the mineralization is so structured that, you know, with a porphyry system, you're relying on, if you've got to put lots and lots of arterial development, it can be like, you know, underground mining can be expensive. But these porphyries in the Philippines lend themselves, particularly in the Philippines, lend themselves to the block cave method of mining. And the block cave method of mining is almost as cheap as open cast mining. And, you know, we had a figure of about $21 all up mining and processing for this place. And so it lends itself to block caving. The guts of it is high grade, which means that if you block caved it and positioned your key arterials and your draw points in the right place, you'd probably have about the first 10 years of very high grade core material, almost thinking like, you know, back to the, you know, thinking of an avocado where the nut is, you know, that's where the high grade is, very, very much along those lines. So IDM have done a splendid job. They've done some more drilling, and that's more or less confirmatory. Similar results to the main parcel of drilling. It's got a 25-year mining license. They've been very diligent on the social work in the area, which you have to be in the Philippines. And of course, IDM have got an history in that part of the world. And so they've got their networks in place. They've got an history of success in that part of the world. So all in all, we've got and you know, our position there, we've got the best part of 20 million shares at 20 cents, and which is about the same as Bezant's market cap. And options. And the options for, of course, is you know, you don't need me to tell you, to monetize this trade sale, part of a new IPO. So the intent a couple of years ago when we got together with IDM was to monetize this, and the recent spate of sort of ups, well, it's been ups and downs, I know, of the copper price. Gold price has been very consistent, and there's good gold contributions here. I mean, crikey, when you talk about 3 million ounces of gold, that's a project in its own right. Yeah, so, you know, the gold and silver prices have been pretty consistent, and copper, but of course it's all about copper. This has been brought into the limelight. So if it might have been difficult last year for IDM to think about an IPO, because the general state of UK, Toronto, Vancouver, and the Australian stock markets were not so good in terms of IPOs, life's changing and changing quite fast. So there's IPO potential, and there's trade potential. And projects in very capable hands of with folks who know how to go on with those corporate activities and have had some success in the region. So all in all, it bodes well for Bezant.
You did have some. There was some stuff done previously by a big accounting firm. Was like what sort of figure did they put on the whole project, and hence then the potential for Bezant's share?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, what you've got there is that, I mean, in this valuation, when we say it's about the same as our market cap, that's just basically the company position as is in a very tight market and private. If you talk about DCFs and that, and when that was done, it's some time back, you hadn't got quite a few of the permissions that we've got now. It was in a range of 5 to 9 million Australian dollars. And so, you know, and that was working on a copper price, I think, of about 7,005. So this project gaining value by work, gaining value by copper prices influencing it, and it's gaining gaining value by, I don't know if you've noticed, and when you look at the political side of things, the Philippines and the US are beginning to close old ties up. So that also bodes well for the project. So if you turn the clock forward just a year from when we last spoke about it, a lot's happened both on the ground, the commodity price and the politics and the social aspects. So it doesn't need a lot now to happen before we should be able to monetize this situation, mankind.
And just to look at Bezant as a whole, obviously we've got the stuff in Namibia, but just before we go on to that, what's happening with the assets that were sort of came with Bezant when you first took over Bezant, the Argentinian asset? What's happening?
Well, as you know, that the first thing we did when we took control of Bezant was to dispose of the Colombian, but we kept Eureka alive. We kept Eureka in good standing. We kept it in good standing with a view to possibly drilling those. There's two significant anomalies, one on the junction between the old and young rocks, and one over the top of the Miocene, over the top of the red beds. Two very, very important anomalies. It's no secret that I guess I particularly are Southern Africa biased. I've seen country managers fail. I've seen country managers fail. So I think you thought I was going to say I've seen country managers fail. I've seen country managers win. Unless you've got a real presence on the ground, life can be very difficult. And to me, when you've got 3 days to get there and 3 days to get back, and you've got to set up an whole organization for one single project, it's not intelligent. So focus on Africa, which we've demonstrated we're doing that with the Canyon project and the Open Garo project. And we've de-risked ourselves with the monetarization of mankind. And of course, the next one is Eureka. Now, again, it's no secret the catalyst of the copper price, what's happened in the last 3 months, is no secret that is sort of, everybody's woken up, when in actual fact they should have known. I mean, it's been talked on and off for about 4 or 5 years. There's still those who don't get it, but will get it. But the copper price is soaring forward, general upward trend. And of course, that adds value to those people who see the benefits and see the quality project that Eureka might be. And so again, it's attracting interest, and we'll probably take the same view as we've taken with mankind, that we get the opportunity with the right team, the right people to monetize it, we will.
Okay, and then moving down to Namibia then, can you give us any more Open Garo? We're not going to talk about the licenses because obviously we're just going to wait for that to happen, but in practical terms, what else is happening?
Well, in practical terms, Kevin, it's ready for the off. Just about all the material, the power for the upgrading, solar power for the upgrading, and that's basically been negotiated. The open pit contracts, they've been negotiated. The transport contracts for the concentrate, transport contracts to go to the nearby plant have been negotiated. So just about everything everything is in place for the principal activities. Sadly, you say we can't talk about a mining license. That's the thing to talk about, really. That's, the reassurance I think we have to give you here is the fact that we have done everything humanly possible, and probably a little bit more, to actually get that license in a situation, into a position that government accepted and appear to grant a license. And they've been very diligent, as you would expect a government to be. We've done everything that we can do. The project is very ESG compliant. It creates jobs in Swakopmund. It creates jobs over at Walvis Bay. And there's no negatives, all positives. But more importantly, we're talking about 6,000 to 8,000 tons of contained copper. The upside, Kevin, is absolutely tremendous in terms of 17 kilometers of strike. And I've likened it when I've spoken to you and you've been out there and seen it yourselves. This is like a boat with each side of the boat sticking out in the desert and the keel down at about 500 or 600 meters, and then two limbs being the sides of the boat. So this is potentially a very large target. And as you know, back in the 70s, the decision was made for whatever reason. Well, we know the reason. The reason was they couldn't treat oxides. They thought anything above 150 meters would be oxide and therefore would be difficult to treat. So they looked for their underground mine starting at 150 meters. And we've proven, of course, that it's not oxide, it's sulfide all the way to surface. And we proved that the grades are very similar to those 150 and meters below. And there's 17 kilometers of that, Kevin, 17 kilometers of that. So there's a huge exploration potential. So when we talk about doing a big plant, at Walvis Bay 4 or 5 years, a little bit more maybe, a little bit less maybe, down the line, that is a very much a reality. Same principle, upgrade and transport to a plant that this time own plant down near Walvis Bay. So everything is in place that needs to be in place. And the mining license, of course, unlocks the gate and off we go.
And today's announcements in terms of the Mancuan thing brings things closer and closer to an event, a financial event, you believe?
Do you mean a sale by way of IPO?
A sale or an IPO or whatever it happens to be.
Oh yeah, I mean, basically with the high interest levels in copper, a revival. Australia's no different to Toronto, no different to the UK. They're starting to see the smells of new IPOs, and it's no secret that all the major companies, some in copper, some not in copper. I mentioned in our sort of pre-podcast discussion there that some companies who are not currently in copper and derive their income from another major commodity want copper in their stable, so they're obvious candidates and making themselves obvious too. So that's in all our copper assets, not just Mankind. IDM will handle that. That's their job. But there's a surge of interest in any copper project which has got legs, Kevin.
Okay, on that note, we'll say Colin Bird, Executive Chairman of Bezant Resources, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Kevin.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.